Sekeres Price for Wednesday, April 10th, 2024, coming to you from the Nation Network studio, built by Arbor Lee here at the iconic Wall Center downtown Vancouver. If you're looking for a getaway, heading to an event downtown, why not make it a staycation? Call the Wall, 604-331-1000. Ask for the Sekeres Price rate based on availability. Some blackout date supply. Matt Sekeres alongside Blake Price. Grady Sass, hitting switches, conducting things. Huge show coming up, all brought to you by Applewood Auto Group.
Applewood Infinity in Langley has the 2024 QX60 at 0.99% lease rates. Pretty favorable, especially with the BOC keeping their rates static. That's for up to 24 months, and it's on all trims. Go get the QX60 now at Applewood Infinity in Langley. It's all good at Applewood.
BOC, listen to the acronyms here.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm up for a mortgage, so.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Are you looking to host Closing Bell next?
Mad Money with, hey, I've got the great last name for that. I mean, it's perfect.
I like the stock. Poll question today. Do you want the Canucks to wear the black skate jersey in the playoffs? I have a feeling I know which way this one's going to go. Vote at Sekeres Price on Twitter and YouTube. I voted yes. They've played well in them, 12-4. The fans like them. I think it's the fans' preferred choice. Frankly, I'd be for a move back permanently to the skate logo and that color scheme, because I do think that's what Canuck Nation wants.
I think the players, despite a couple losses recently in them, I think the players do feel better in them. I think they feel bigger in them. I think they feel tougher in them. I'm well aware of the psychology that officials call more penalties against teams in black. So
look no further than the Raiders, right?
I think it cuts both ways to some degree. I'd be willing to roll the dice on that, though, in the playoffs and have them wear black. Yes.
Seahawks wear black?
I don't think they've gone black. No.
I
They went like charcoaly, like grayish, but that's about it.
I mean, the way their fans complain about penalties, you might think they wear black.
That's right. Yeah, black and teal.
So, and said this many times on the show. I don't fancy stick and rink. I understand that there's an emotional connection to stick and rink from a number of longtime Canucks fans who grew up with that logo and that color scheme in the 70s. And for, fill your boots. We're all nostalgic to some degree. Sports never means more than when you're, younger. Flying V, of course, was panned far and wide. I think at this stage of the game, Flying V is so unique that I would love to see it come back for as Jeff says, for a Halloween game, right?
That's what that was the line when they their Halloween costumes when they first saw them. Yeah.
I quite like Orca. I know I'm in the minority here, but I think Orca speaks to our community, speaks to this region. I think it's a beautiful design all the way cracking through the ice. So I'm A-okay with Orca going forward. Black skate certainly pops, especially when you're watching the game on television. We haven't seen white skate, though. At least not since way back when.
Yeah.
So just indulge me this. If they do go to black skate, and folks, if you're not aware, in the playoffs, you have to go with one or the other. You don't get a chance to choose.
Can't flip-flop blues and blacks.
Right, exactly. So you got to wear one uniform away, one uniform at home. But indulge me, if we're going forward and skate and this color scheme takes over as the primary, which I don't think will happen, because I think you got people at the upper reaches of Rogers Arena who don't want it to happen.
What if they wore black and they made it to the conference finals this year? Or something like that?
And I think that's why you probably won't see black skate in the playoffs either.
They don't want to be hemmed into that corner. Yes.
Are we going white or are we going gold as the flip side?
They would go white.
Have to go white?
Yeah. There's a lot of yellow out there. I mean, two of the first-round opponent possibilities for the Vancouver Canucks have a yellow jersey. The Golden Knights and the Preds both have a yellow.
Right.
Yellow got to be kind of in vogue a little bit.
Gold. I think they like gold.
A variation. Gold, yellow, whatever you want to call it. So I don't think they go down the road. I think they would be conservative and go white. But
Grady, where you at on this?
I'll go with the black skate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the white skate, though. They need to add that at some point.
Yeah.
But then are they going to, like, usually these novelty jerseys are for the home fans.
Mhm.
White is the road color
Right.
now. You gonna wear them on the road?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think if you're
Maybe
going
the
to black
odd flip,
yeah,
wear the white at home. If the
I
NHL
mean, you're not going to
allows.
wear white with blue and green trim on the road and then black skate at home permanently, right?
No, you wouldn't think.
No.
You'd have to make a full brand change.
Mhm.
And they certainly don't seem to be tailoring down the blue and green. So now this, except for the seats, of course, not that the seats were ever blue or green, but the seats appear to be going black,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to our top story. Brock Beeks, Besser, talks about getting to 40 goals. You'll remember he had treatment after the game on Monday, so we hadn't heard from him until Wednesday morning. Here he is, number 6 on getting to that milestone plateau.
Yeah, it means a lot. Just being one of those guys that, I expect to score goals and produce for our team, and I want to be one of the guys they can count on in a big moment to go out there and be able to score a big goal. So, I always think about that.
He was asked several different ways about getting to 40. He said consistently that it meant a lot, but framed it in terms of team accomplishment each and every time. Look, this is significant achievement for Besser, as we've talked about. And, that he's now doing it with Elias Pettersson as the centerman when playing with JT Miller. And Miller had the great line the other night about, was kidding him about he can't score without me. But, now he's got the high ground on that file. That he is nicked a little bit here and has gotten to 40. If they get anything wrapped up, is he one of the load management candidates?
That would be, that'd be a great point next week. And all the more reason why you want to win this one and then throw everything you can at that Oiler game, beat the Oilers, and then just cruise through the final week and rest whoever you need to rest, play whoever you need to play,
right,
including that Demko. And then just have next week as a maintenance week and as a kicking off rust week and all that sort of stuff. So you win these 2 games and you're done. It'll be done.
So let's hit that for a second. Then what's at stake standing wise here, where they stand magic number wise. So Vancouver still cannot clinch the division here on Wednesday, even with a victory over Arizona
and an Oiler loss
and an Oiler loss. And they've got Vegas tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it's conceivable, maybe
right.
without McDavid.
So the Canucks number is 7. So a combination of Vancouver getting to 7 points or the Oilers not being able
missing points.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, that Canucks can't even clinch on Friday where the Oilers play Arizona, even in a scenario where Vancouver wins today, Edmonton loses, and Edmonton loses again on Friday. So going into Saturday in Edmonton, there will still be something for the Oilers to play for in terms of upward mobility. Vancouver now 5 back of Dallas in the Western Conference. The Canucks can max out at 8 points here. They can do no better than 8 points. So Dallas 4 more points, clinches first place in the Western Conference. That relegates the Canucks to the 2nd seed, which means they would play the better of the 2 wildcard teams.
Yes. Yeah, which I don't know that you can twist in the wind too much about this. There's still so much movement amongst the wildcard teams and the 3rd place Pacific team that I don't think you can pick your spot here.
But we have the standings on the screen.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I think first in the conference is not happening.
I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's of any concern to a Canuck fan. If you get to the conference finals, you're going to be happy to be there. Who cares if it's home ice or not? It's not like you're like, we've been here 4 years in a row. We want home ice in the conference finals. No. Worry about down the road. Home ice in the first 2 rounds is more than enough of an accomplishment for the Vancouver Canucks at this point, and more than enough of strategy. Like, if the Canucks make it to the conference final, that will be a season to remember. The first 2 rounds, is the best you can ask for right now, and that's okay. And in terms of picking opposition, again, pick your poison. I think all three of these teams have got warts. All three of them have got real strengths. I don't think you can necessarily say, oh, I really want the Canucks to face so and so. I mean, you can have your own opinion on it. I don't think it's going to be a definitive gospel though, because I think they've had mixed results against a couple of these teams, and a couple of these teams have legitimate holes that you can, point to and say, hey, I want that one.
We will get to Thatcher Demko here in a moment, but first let's hear from head coach Rick Tocchet on lineup decisions against the Arizona Coyotes, where it very much sounds like Arturs Silovs will be in the goal and that Elias Lindholm is going to make his return.
Yeah, they're just getting off the ice. I'll talk to Clarkie one final, but we haven't made it 100%, but it looks that way. But I'll talk to Clarkie one more time.
Lindy in tonight?
Same thing. I'll talk to him after the skate, but we targeted. This was kind of the game or the next game, so I'll see how he feels, and then we'll go from there.
And to tell you how we got to the likelihood that he's there, Lindholm did a quick twirl, was on and off the ice. Vasily Podkolzin and Nils Åman stayed late and did extra drills. Never a good sign. Usually means that those two guys are sitting. PDG was on and off too. So yeah, PDG and Lindholm look to be the ons, Åman and Podkolzin the offs.
Lindholm has missed 7 games here with what many are reporting as a wrist injury. He spoke after practice on Tuesday. I'll read you the quote. I feel good. Obviously, I want to get back into playing. I tried to battle through the injury, just couldn't do it anymore. It was a good time to let it heal and hopefully get back pretty soon. He also, Blake Price, expressed a preference to playing center. And when hockey players express a preference for a position, even if they couch it and put it in, even if they equivocate, that's meaningful.
It's about as demanding as they get.
It's about as demanding as a hockey player's getting.
Yeah.
Quote, I think I'm more used to playing center, but that's up to the coaches to decide where they think I'm the best fit. I'm most used to center. That's where I've played the last couple of years, but I can play pretty much wherever. So there you have it.
Yeah.
I think your dream of him playing on the wing with Pettersson.
That was not part of the dream. Just the two of them playing together.
That's right. You're indiscriminate. If Lindholm plays, Pettersson has to play left wing. You're okay with that as well. Does this say something about Vasily Podkolzin?
I mean,
is this another failed bid from Vasily? Are we willing to be that harsh, or are you not quite there?
I mean, I think they just had a numbers issue. I think they probably want to see PDG get some games in here because he hasn't been super used in the last month. And ultimately for Podkolzin, doing little things, as we know, with whether you're making $6 million like Louis Eriksson or the minimum like Podkolzin, you do need eventually to get onto the stat sheet. Like eventually there becomes a point where you just need to be contributing, and Podkolzin just hasn't been able to do that.
Pointless in 3, 2 assists in 16 games this season. And the ice time had dipped here. Was down to 11.5 against the Kings, was down to 8 minutes.
I don't think he's going down. I don't think he's going down. I think he's going to remain a Vancouver Canuck, not an Abbotsford. I think his size could prove to be very useful come playoff time, where you don't necessarily look for the counting stats as much because you ain't got time to bleed. It's just about getting the victory, however that comes to pass. So he's not going anywhere, but I think he might be costing himself some minutes here in the remaining few games.
So let me ask, do you think he's in the lineup on opening night of the playoffs?
I think performances like tonight for my guy like PDG matter. Like, this is the battle for minutes, right? I don't think Nils Åman is done himself many favors lately. I think he's the bottom man on the totem pole in terms of options. Obviously, being a centerman helps his case, but the Canucks,
and a penalty killer.
But the Canucks have options with Bluger, Suter, and Lindholm now. They've got other options down the middle. So I don't know that helps Nils Åman. So I think it's a battle between Podkolzin and PDG at this point for that last spot.
Yep.
And guys like Lafferty have to keep their head above water. I thought Lafferty looked really fast the other night. He's got to continue to show those sorts of moments.
The Lafferty speed, and the fact that he could play the middle if he needs to. And he's a right shot.
Sure,
he's a right shot. He's a bigger body himself too. Lafferty. I mean, he's on 12 goals this year.
Yeah, Lafferty
playing nearly 12 minutes a night.
23 points is pretty good for him.
Is just over 10, and Vasily is not quite 11.
Yeah, I
mean, of course, Lafferty got some top 6 run earlier in the season.
He did. That's the bulk of his 12 goals we're seeing in a better role. But hey, I think all those role players, they see the finish line too. Like it's not just us putting this calculus together. I think guys like Lafferty and Podkolzin and PDG, they know what time of year it is. They know that there's only so many spots to dole out for game number 1. And we've talked about the veterans that haven't seen playoff action. How about the journeymen that they can't wait to put a playoff GP on the back of their hockey card, right? So
Philip Hronek has never played a playoff game.
Yeah.
Coming on 400 NHL
But
games.
he knows he's getting them now. A guy like PDG doesn't know if he's getting them. So you expect those guys to be working hard, I would think.
Now, Arizona Coyotes.
And we got some breaking news on them right now from Frank Saravelli. Breaking. Sources tell Daily Faceoff the NHL and the Arizona Coyotes and the Smith Entertainment Group have made significant progress on the framework of an agreement to relocate the Yotes to Salt Lake City, Utah. NHL memo updated governors today.
Yep.
Not done. Many layers and lawyers, much work to do.
Yep. And Frank had previously reported the NHL is drafting 2 schedules for next season, one with the Coyotes in Arizona, one with the team playing in Salt Lake City. I think this is what's going to happen from here. It will be drips and drabs of news and leaked information, but all of it pointing to this franchise relocating to the Utah Capitol.
Do you think they want this out of the way by April the 20th?
I think that's ambitious. I think they want this out of the way by June 1st.
Get out of the way for the Stanley Cup final at the very least.
For the Stanley Cup final, and I think they want to be able to go into a draft and free agency season with the Salt Lake City.
So
Coyotes.
the sub poll question will live only in our brains here. This is the final. Is this the final game versus the Arizona Coyotes?
Very well be. And if I'm a betting man, I would bet it is the final game. For the Canucks versus the Arizona Coyotes. And all of you Canucks fans who have winter properties in Greater Phoenix, who have become accustomed to watching the Canucks in that market, I feel bad for you.
Apply for your Utah liquor license ASAP.
Right.
Although it's not quite the summer destination.
Individual liquor license to drink in Utah. But hey, first time I was there, I ordered a beer. They presented me paperwork. I'm on, what's this about?
Here.
They went, can you just sign this? Everybody who drinks in this state needs to fill out this form.
Hey, you get a ski property in Utah. It's cheaper slightly than Whistler. You go down there during the winter months and you ski Utah POW and watch
Park City here.
Yeah, all of them. There's a snowbird. There's a bunch of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do they go with the Utah Coyotes, just like the?
I don't think they're going Coyotes.
Jazz?
They're literally right now taking
yeah,
names.
That's right. Yeah.
Even though there are a lot of Coyotes there.
I think they'll probably go Utah. I think you want to brand it across the state, which of course Arizona came to late, right? Previously the Phoenix.
Yeah, not a huge metropolis. So they might as well bring everybody to the table.
It's Utah Jazz already there, right?
Yeah.
So I think probably Utah. At least not Real. You know how I feel about. Well, again, if we were renaming MLS teams,
Utah HC,
like is the team in Utah taking a name from a Spanish side? Like it's just.
I saw a lot of people going Yeti.
Oh, so we'd have Kraken and Yeti.
Yeah,
not bad.
All the supernatural
Yeti
monsters.
Yetis, or is the plural just Yeti?
I think it's just Yeti. Yeah. A family of Yeti. Yeah.
Oh no,
there is an S on it.
Yeah, looks like Yetis.
Really?
Yeah, it is Yetis.
And then you get the
Don't
thermos.
like that as
you get the
much.
thermos company as your chief sponsor.
Of course you do.
They already sponsor Austin FC, I believe. So they've got sporting.
Yetis. That's terrible.
No, I don't
It
like
should
it.
just be Yeti.
It should be Yeti. But you can make your own rules in this. The Maple Leafs, for God's sakes, right? So you can make your own grammatical rules.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeti.
that hasn't even been finalized.
Yeah.
But it would work. Snow related, mountain related works.
Look, I can understand that this is very difficult for hockey fans in Arizona. The problem is there's not enough of them to sustain this team.
Yeah.
And I'll say this because I don't often say nice things about Gary Bettman and the NHL and the Governors. I do commend them for trying to make it work in Arizona. I do commend them for the fight. I would think
The NBA would have been gone in
right
2 seconds.
and I think in their most honest moment, many of the people involved would have said for some time now that it's probably not going to work in Phoenix, and the team is ultimately going to up and leave. But I will, you make a commitment to a community with a franchise. You should do your utmost to honor that commitment. And I do think the league and the Governors have done their utmost to try and keep the Coyotes in Phoenix, Metro Phoenix, and make it work. And it's just not working.
I think 2 years in Mullet Arena broke the camel's back here.
2 years in a 5,000 seat arena absolutely did.
Now, there's another plan that is being floated here that all this goes down as we've just chronicled here. But Alex Morello, the current owner of the Coyotes, gets put into an incubator. And as soon as he can find a building and build it, he gets the franchise back, or a franchise, not this franchise.
Yes.
He gets a franchise back.
Well, we'll believe that when we see it.
Right. Yeah.
But
good luck to Mr. Morello.
But side deals, backroom deals, that's how Gary and the NHL do business.
And Gary wants to make it
Craig
work in the
Leopold.
desert.
Yeah.
Craig
It's a
Leopold.
huge population base.
Craig Leopold owned in Nashville because he was willing to play ball with the league and not, take them and give them the Jim Balsley and all of that. He got the Minnesota Wild. It's quid pro quo. That's how this league and how this commissioner works.
And they
very transactional.
They have the corporate sponsors down there, which is often, one
What,
of the
in Salt Lake City?
No, down in Arizona to make it work.
Oh, well, I mean, a city of that size, you should.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear from head coach Rick Tocchet, because when I heard JT Miller say the other night after getting to 100 points, I'll probably have one more beer tonight and then we'll park it. I went, I thought, all these guys hitting all these milestones, all those vibes. Please tell me they don't no-show against Arizona, right? Like, please tell me you don't let this one slip. Hey, head coach took notice of this as well. Here's what he messaged.
We got to be locked in. I mean, we had a meeting about it today. You got to be focused. There's no reason for us not to be focused tonight. It's a big game for us, and we have to have the same approach we did against Vegas. Straightforward.
You want to get into the psychology
meeting.
You want to get into the psychology of it. Yeah, the Canucks have got that bit of psychology to get over. How does the news that we just talked about not affect the Coyotes? All those guys, like the guys that have got 3 years left on their deals, they just found out they're moving. And they're moving to a place they have no idea about, most of them, in Salt Lake City. So I think there's a lot of psychology at play. Who's able to shake off
for sure
what's happened in the last 24 hours and play a game? Because the Coyotes, like, honestly, they probably feel completely adrift at sea right now. So I would think it's pretty easy for them to get waxed 7-1 tonight, to be honest. But the Canucks still have to dot the I and cross the T to make that happen.
Yep, I think you're probably right.
The guys they have signed next year and beyond: Keller, Schmaltz, Krause, Kerfoot, Michelli, Bustad, McBain, and then a bunch of ELC calls.
Yeah,
all those guys found out they're moving.
Guys like Josh Doan, who that's all he's known.
Yeah,
right?
Literally. Like a Coyote through and through.
Right. So, no, I think you're quite right. There's a massive distraction hanging over the Vancouver Canucks opponent this evening. And, the Vancouver Canucks can't be too in love with their press clippings and the vibes from Monday night, finally getting a win against a playoff team, the Vegas Golden Knights, and being this close to the division title. Time to take care of business.
The YouTube chat is just buzzing with potential names right now for this.
All right. Well, what are they saying? What are they like?
Well, the obvious is the Mormons.
Oh, come on. They're not going to name it after
the Utah Jellos. Don't get that one.
Don't get that one either.
Now they've moved to Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan Lakers.
No.
What?
The Saskies?
What?
The Farmers?
Hunter, what was his name? Who's the St. Louis Blues guy that was going to bring the Blues to Saskatoon? Wild Bill Hunter.
Oh, yeah. Wild Bill, I believe. I'll put it on his nose.
I believe it was, yeah. No, they're not going to Saskatchewan, and they're not going to Quebec City, which a lot of people
no, which is sad,
but they're keeping it in the Western Conference too. Like that's the other thing that needs to happen.
Okay,
so would they become? Do you think they'll shift the divisions around, or just keep them in the Central?
Mm-hmm.
They will keep them in the Central.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Salt Lake City is known for the pronghorn antelope.
That doesn't really work.
Pronghorn doesn't work. Does antelope work?
Nope. I mean, pronghorns is closer. There we have
bighorn sheep.
Is it Lethbridge pronghorns?
Could we see rams here? Yeah, there's a U Sports school.
Lethbridge. Yeah, I think so. It is Wild Bill Hunter, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other obvious ones to me. But I mean, the results of this
mountain goats,
Ryan Smith survey should provide some fodder.
Why did they go the Jazz? Is there a big
they
relocated,
right?
Yeah.
New Orleans, as many have said, there's not a lot of Jazz in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of lakes in LA.
No,
there's just man-made reservoirs.
Not a lot of Grizzlies in Memphis.
Nope. And they could go Grizzlies because they've got a long history in the minors
of Grizzlies.
Mm-hmm. So that could be an option.
I think we could see Bobcats here.
Yeah, could see that.
Badgers, foxes. I think all of those unclaimed animals have a chance here.
All the felines. Cougar. I think there are cougars too.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got to be a name with an S ending.
And it's funny.
The Jazz aren't.
Talking to a friend of mine the other day who's a fan of the Washington now Commanders, and his thing was they should have just kept Washington football team.
Yeah,
be the first North American non-soccer team to go down the European route of just call it what it is. The Utah Hockey Club, does UHC roll off the
go with a crest rather than like a cartoon design of something, and you could go HC.
Probably not.
HC Utah? No?
HCU. The thing is, having a nickname, particularly if it's an animal, sells merchandise.
It does. Yeah, the kids don't like the coat of arms quite as much.
A coat of arms works in England.
Yeah,
they love them some coats of arms.
Yes, they do.
Not as much a thing here in the New World. So yeah. Anyways, jackrabbits. You see jackrabbits?
Golden eagles. There's options.
Golden eagles. I don't know.
Apparently, there's shrimp in Salt Lake.
Is there
the brine shrimp? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyways, whatever they pick, I'm sure it will be better than Jazz. Jazz is one of the worst nicknames out there.
It is. It's nonsensical.
Like,
Nonsensical.
Even if you like Jazz, I'm not sure you care for your sports team being called Jazz.
No.
Thatcher Demko practiced Tuesday, was not made available to the media. Boy, he talks very little, huh? Thatcher, over the course of a season.
He doesn't love to talk, period.
No, I know he doesn't, but it's almost a handful of times.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not a good sign for me either, nor were the words of Rick Tocchet. We have a schedule and a plan with him. And yesterday, Tuesday, was probably like taking part in 60% part of the practice. And probably next will be 70. and we'll just gradually go from there. And then coach added, it was a full practice for him with some limitations.
He bumped
I don't feel great
DeSmith
about
out of the net today. Like DeSmith pretty much watched the morning skate while Demko and Silovs took the workload. I don't think it's a step backward, man.
No, I'm not saying it's a step backward. What I'm saying is we're talking about 60 and 70%. There's 4 games left in the season.
I think he starts.
You think he's starting Saturday?
I think he starts Saturday still. Yeah. Yeah.
And look, for me, so long as he gets the last 2 games of the season, that should be enough. As I've said in the past, I'd be a little skittish of dropping him into the Oilers game, especially if there's so much riding on it. Like if the Canucks were to lose and Edmonton win tonight.
What if it's a McDavid-less Oilers team?
That's a little bit different, got to admit, because without McDavid, I think they're a good offensive team, but not a great offensive team.
But also, like, McDavid is a single-handed groin destroyer. So, like, and hip destroyer and knee destroyer.
Speed is just things we have never seen before.
So if you happen to go one-on-one or 2v1 where you're gonna have to push off probably, and you could hurt something. So, I mean, he's missing one. I mean, they might just be saving him for the Saturday game. The Oilers might be saving McDavid for Saturday, knowing how big that head-to-head is, but we'll see.
Hey, wanted to get to this. Pierre LeBrun wrote in the Athletic today about playoff format and just, spitballing changes going forward. So we're 10 years into this playoff format, and for the Vancouver Canucks, it's just their second time in it because, of course, the bubble was threw everything out of kilter.
If the Canucks win this, people will be like, who do we face next?
Well, because really the last time we had a perennial playoff team, the one thing we got was a magnificent rivalry with the Chicago Blackhawks because of 3 straight years in the postseason. And of course, Chicago winning the first 2 and Vancouver dramatically in Game 7 overtime winning the 3rd on the Slay the Dragon goal. So I went back over the last 10 years because this playoff format was supposed to enculture bigger divisional and geographic rivalries.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't go full pull of going full divisional playoff, which those of us who grew up in the 80s and recall, great Smythe division rivalries. I got the best of both worlds, like growing up out west and out east. I had the Smythe division. Then at a certain age, I had the Adams division. Watching cheer for our buddy Ray Ferraro in Hartford against Montreal and Boston and all. Anyways,
you got a 50-50 chance of it being in division, though.
So
if the wild cards
you're
line
getting
up.
the 2-3. You're getting the 2-3 divisional series, and then sometimes it works out where the wild card
stays in division,
plays the top seed in play. So this is by no means a complete and exhaustive list. And if people want to edify me, correct me, add to this list on E's and O's, then by all means, I'm open to all that feedback. I went and looked at what rivalries really emerged or strengthened in this playoff format. And frankly, the one that jumps to mind the most is Pittsburgh-Columbus. Do you remember how vicious some of those Pittsburgh-Columbus games were, like 6-7 years ago when Torts was there and Columbus had a plucky, hardworking team, playoff level team, but not really a threat to win the cup. LA and San Jose in the early part of this playoff format.
San Jose Vegas
as well is on my list. Boston Toronto, although really Boston Toronto, I mean, that's an original 6 rivalry.
No, but it needed to be rekindled.
Okay, all right.
It needed to be rekindled.
Pittsburgh and the Islanders. I'm sure that Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin and Rick Tocchet would tell you that Pittsburgh and the Islanders.
Really? I wouldn't have put that on the list.
Well, they played several playoff series.
Okay.
All these rivalries they played at least twice in the playoffs under this new format. Not necessarily all in the first round, but in some cases. We've gotten the Battle of Florida here.
Tampa-Boston? Did you see that?
Well, Tampa-Boston almost was the thing in the old format.
Yeah.
So the Battle of Florida has been engaged in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Minnesota St. Louis played a bunch of series, but outside of the Blues Cup run, there wasn't a whole lot of upward mobility for either team.
You generally need one team to have enjoyed a lot of success in those scenarios.
Or both teams winning their fair share and it being, a
back and forth. Yeah.
And then Edmonton, LA, who have played the last 2 years in the playoffs. And some, listen further here to Frankie Corrado, don't ever need to see that again. That Edmonton is just better than the LA Kings. And the Kings were really plucky last year. I mean, they had the Oilers on their heels at one point. I can remember listening to the Oilers radio broadcast in the playoffs last year and thinking, boy, like everybody sounds scared. And yet Connor McDavid was able to pull through. The point being, Blake, do any of those rivalries strike you as the poster child for why we have to keep this playoff format? Again, like I think Pittsburgh, Columbus encultured because of this format. The rest that I just read off there,
yeah.
So what I'm saying is I've been a proponent of this format. I've wanted to see those division rivalries take greater hold. And the fact that oftentimes they're geographic, I think helps because you've got the ability of maybe, move between both cities, as we saw with Canucks fans.
Increases travel, though.
What do you mean?
If you go 1v8, it increases travel.
Well, yeah. I mean, we saw a bunch of Canucks fans in Calgary back in 2015. We saw a bunch of Flames fans, here in Vancouver.
Should players have a say on this? Because I know a lot of the ex-players that are now analysts have beaked about
I would like
they want it back.
I think the NHLPA should have a say. I guess what I'm saying is, Blake, we're 10 years of this. I've been a proponent, and I'm looking back at the results now, and I'm just not sure there's enough there. And I do think that rivalries can be encultured in a 1-8 conference format, even if they're non-division, having had the experience of the Vancouver Canucks with the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, and the Minnesota Wild. Going
way back,
further back. So
right,
I don't think it's exclusive to this particular format. I think
especially when
I think they're in love with the cost savings. I honestly do.
Right.
I think that's what's moving all this.
Especially when, and this is not to repeat the Toronto wine, but there is a core truth to what Maple Leafs fans have bitched about for some time, and that is, you oftentimes get a 2-3 matchup there with two of the better teams in the conference, and you were getting rid of one in the first round. And we've talked about this a lot, Blake. The good news is at least you get that compelling matchup.
Yeah.
You're no guarantees of getting that compelling matchup in a 1-8 because a lot of upsets happen. The downside is, and Saravelli talks about this a lot, you have a really good team. In this case, in the Western Conference, it's going to be two really good teams who are out in the first round because of this playoff
but
format.
this year, to me, the Western Conference is a bad example to rail against it because
two teams would be out anyways.
Well, no, just there's 8 really good teams in the playoffs. There's no parity in the Western Conference this year, so that I don't think the Dallas Stars or the Canucks, presuming they win the division, are going to be doing backflips about their first round opponent. Period.
Mm-hmm.
The East, you do see it. Like the second wild card is a weak sister this year. I mean, that team's going to be lucky to get to 90 points this year. There could be an 89-point team making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. That looks delicious for a first overall, but that first overall is going to face that team regardless. In both formats, they face the worst team. In previous years, there has been scenarios where both wild cards aren't that great. And then you'd have, the second overall team. Maybe that team is in the same division as the first overall team, and they wish they were facing that wild card. I don't know that the competitive part of it plays into it much for me. I think it's just about freshness and about new rivalries.
When this all started, I had designs on the Canucks and Flames, like galvanizing a massive rivalry again.
Yeah,
I had designs on the Canucks and Oilers forging a rivalry again. I certainly had designs going far enough on Seattle and Vancouver and the Cascadia rivalry getting going. And of course, Seattle made the playoffs last year. Vancouver didn't. But none of those things have transpired.
No.
And I think if you go down and look at a lot of other franchises and talk to their fans, and ask them the same question, and teams that have, and fan bases that have had a lot more kicks at the Stanley Cup playoffs than we have here in BC over the last decade. I'm not sure many of them would come down with a gavel and say, absolutely, we now have a rivalry with this team that we otherwise wouldn't have had.
We should get to this before we get to the menu. Frank Saravelli confirming Yotes players have been officially informed of the situation.
Okay.
That something of a verbal agreement is in place. So they don't need to be on social media to find out what we've just talked about today in this opening segment. They have actually, through official channels, been informed of what's going on. So it's in their heads. For sure it is.
All right. Before we get to the menu, playoffs are near. And this year we have an army. Nation Gear, ready to gear you up for Vancouver's playoff run. You can rep your favorite team as they battle for the cup. Shop the exclusive We Have an Army playoff tee and more at nationgear.ca. Let's get to today's menu, and it's brought to you by our friends at Greta. And if you haven't heard, April 18th, everybody, it's a week from Thursday, another game day hosted by Canucks Army. Sekeres Price at Greta Bar YVR. Join the crew at our favorite game day watch party spot, 50 West Cordova. Thursday, April 18th, we'll watch Vancouver play Winnipeg. Doors open at 4 p.m. Tickets are $10. Good food, good prizes, and a guaranteed good time. You can get your tickets at nationgear.ca before they sell out. And if you have not been to Greta in the past, it is sensory overload. All sorts of fun and games. Literally.
It's a lot of fun
throughout the bar. We'll talk to Frank Corrado here, former Vancouver Canuck and TSN hockey analyst, on a number of topics, including playoff format, including Garland, JT Miller form heading into the playoffs here for the Canucks. We also have the year's first golf report brought to you by the Whistler Golf Club in advance of the 2024 Masters, the first men's major of the season, the 90th edition of that tournament. Rob Williams, Rob the hockey guy, going to join us. He's done some digging trying to figure out if there will be playoff viewing parties. Gotta be somewhere here in Vancouver. Frank Corrado's next.
In a season like this, you never want to miss a single second of what's happening on the ice, and you want to be around your fellow fans, right? Well, Greta Bar YVR at 50 West Cordova, the perfect spot to do so. Hey, if you've got tickets, a great place to pre and post. They've got drink specials every single day. And if you don't have tickets, well, stick around and soak up the atmosphere with all your fellow fans, play all the great video games and air hockey, great air hockey setup as well at Greta Bar YVR. We'll see you there, 50 West Cordova.
Northlands Golf Course. Download the free app and book tee times with a touch of your thumb. And while you're on course, open the app for hole-by-hole GPS and track your score. 6 to 90-day reservations. Jump the queue. Lock in your date for $10 per player booking fee. Limited daily availability. Check it all out. golfnorthlands.com. Joined now by former Vancouver Canucks TSN hockey analyst, Mr. Frank Corrado. How we doing, Frank?
I'm doing well, boys. The sun is out. It's feeling like, spring is in the air. Golf season's around the corner. We got Augusta this weekend. This is a great weekend. I don't know how you guys feel, but it's awesome.
And as you saw firsthand, the Philadelphia Flyers are ready to start golfing.
Ooh, nice segue. Yeah, I saw that last night. I was in the building calling that game for TSN, and it was, well, quite obvious. It was such an important game for Philadelphia, and Montreal dominated from start to finish. And Juraj Slafkovsky puts up a hat trick. Like, I haven't been to the Bell Center a ton, admittedly. Like, I've been there a lot this year, but that was the loudest I've seen it since I've been broadcasting. Like, the ovation that they gave him afterwards, the post-game interview, the fans were awesome. It was really cool to see, and good for that guy, because like, he's put in a lot of work, and he obviously really loves the game, and you can really tell. But like it's a cautionary tale for a lot of people that maybe want to label a high pick a bust, or say that they're not very good, because Byfield's had a great year, Lafreniere has had a great year, and since the All-Star break, Slafkovsky's a point per game player. He's got 12 goals in 29 games, so he's really come a long way in his game.
Next year's Philly Podkolzin's turn.
I was going to say, now do Capo Caco with Billy Podkolzin.
I was okay. One thing on the Capo Caco, I was talking to someone about that. Like, the offense isn't there for him, but it is weird because in a way, don't you think he kind of like fits a little bit of a niche for the Rangers? I know it's not like sexy, it's not offensive, but he just fills a little bit of a role for them on a good team. At least there's something there.
Well, look, if they've got a very good team, if they go on to win a Stanley Cup, I don't think anyone will shed a tear that a number 2 overall pick wasn't exactly a big offensive contributor. If he was a contributor.
And if we think, the thing is if he's drafted 15th overall,
you're happy with this.
Then you're like, oh, you know what? He's an NHL player. We don't care. You just had 2 you expected to hit, you know? So
totally.
I can't let this slide though, Blake. Did you hear golf season's around the corner? How quaint.
Oh, here we go.
Give our best to Ontario Golf, Frank.
Any snow on the ground right now? Any snow on the ground, or did you get it all melt away there?
No, literally no snow. And I'm the guy in my neighborhood who, at the very first opportunity, is out there with shorts, t-shirt, flip-flops. Like, I am the first one to fully transition into that mode. And I sit on my front steps, I have a coffee, and I will talk to every single person that walks by. And my poor wife, will just look at me and be like, "Can you please just stop talking to people?" And she's like looking away, and it's great times. The sun is out. Let's
the dad
go.
Genes are strong with this one.
I was going to say the dad vibes are there. Somehow he's a 65-year-old Italian man in the body.
Hey, wait a second. I will draw the line there. I do not water my driveway. That I draw the line there.
Well, as our good friend Giulio Caravata used to say, when you start to use your hockey sticks as tomato steaks and start to take your son's footballs and turn them into shoes,
garden shoes,
you have hit full Italian dad.
Yeah.
Let's ask you our poll question here, Frankie. You said you wanted to weigh in. The black skate jersey, of course, so popular with Canucks fans. They have a terrific record in it this year. Do you want to see them wear it in the Stanley Cup playoffs? And what do you think the guys in the room think about the jersey?
I do want to see them wear it in the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. I have always been of the belief that my favorite jersey in Vancouver is the stick in the rink. I don't know. For some reason, it's original. I feel like the best jerseys around the league, the logos anyways, have never really changed or deviated, especially when it comes to the original 6 franchises. I think it's cool to have that originality kind of go through the decades. But with that being said, the Canucks obviously play well in those jerseys. They look mean. Like, I think there's a little bit of an intimidation factor. I'd be really curious to see what whites, like the white skate, would look like. I don't think we've seen that yet. The only critique, and I don't know if Wyatt is going to kill me for saying this, the only critique is the black skate jersey needs a little bit of like a white accent somewhere in it. It doesn't make sense that it's just black, yellow, and red. Like, am I missing a color there? Like, I feel like there's no white accent to tie it all together. So that's my only critique with the jersey. But I will say I've always been of the belief that the stick in the rink is the Canucks logo. But I do like the black jersey.
1970 stick in rink, or the stylized version of the aughts? Which one are you talking about?
I
don't like the stylized one.
I went back and looked at this recently, and I don't like. Can you can find much of a difference between the two?
Yeah,
like,
angled stick, and they don't have the white background for
probably
the rink.
more of the modern one. And I also like with the shoulder patch. The shoulder patch, I don't like the white on the shoulder patch. I prefer it when it was a little more subtle. You know what I'm talking about? Like, when I played there, we had the stick in the rink shoulder patch. I don't think it was white. I think it was blue on blue.
It was, yeah.
So take me into the room and into the superstitions of hockey players as a group. Played well in it. Will that be enough to carry the day where they'll go to management and say, we want to
They've noticed, haven't they? They've noticed that they win. And
but wouldn't management notice that and be like, hey, we play really well in these jerseys. Let's make a call on that. And like, I don't know, who would be stopping you from wearing those jerseys? Isn't that an internal discussion that you have?
No, you have to register with the league.
I believe it would be your namesake stopping them from wearing that.
Oh,
Apparently,
that
he
part.
likes
Yes.
the blue
I
and
see.
green.
But you do have to.
So that's why I'm not sure management is going to go. I think it's going to have to be player driven.
Okay.
because
Here's
of-
another take for you. I like the Orca logo with Vancouver. I don't like it now without Vancouver. How do you feel
Really?
about that? I
a lot of
prefer
people
the
thought it looked
Vancouver
collegiate.
rating.
A lot of people thought it looked too collegiate with the Vancouver, and then it was just a postcard because the Olympics were coming and people wanted to advertise the city and all that sort
Wow.
of stuff.
So
Okay.
Frank, to me, my favorite Canucks logo is the Orca. I'm in the minority there, a strong minority. A lot of people here
Yeah.
for some reason hate the Orca, but to me, it symbolizes more about the city, the region, the team than stick and rink, black skate, or even Johnny Canuck, which of course has never been brought to the front of the sweater, but we can dare to dream.
We have to again clarify though, and Frank may have not have heard this part. You can only declare one home jersey,
So
they can't wear the black and the blue.
right.
Okay.
They can't
Yeah,
go back and forth. You have to choose.
So they
for the
have to
playoffs.
choose one or the other at the outset of the.
I have a
Stanley
feeling
Cup.
it's just gonna be the Orca.
Yep.
Just for simplicity's sake, it's gonna
Yep.
be the Orca. But it's so weird. Can you think of another team that has so many logos but not one like specific logo? They're the only team that's like that.
It has been something that has been debated far and wide in this community. That they change so often. Of course, we haven't even mentioned Flying V. They took the bold step of Flying V, right?
There's
Coming
another
out of
one.
Stick and Rink with a full color scheme change that morphed into skate. Then we got Vancouver and Orca. We had a unfortunate salmon experience once to the jerseys.
Sprite can one.
See, I didn't mind
The Sprite can. I wasn't a fan of the Sprite can. There's one thing I think the Canucks Nation can probably agree on is that the Millionaires jersey is never going to appear again. I think that one's going.
Well, there is some unfortunate history with that one and Tortorella and Bobby Lou, so I don't think so. Canucks goaltending. Have you seen what Silovs has done here? What do you think?
How can you miss it?
Yeah. What do you think? Him, DeSmith going forward. Who's your backup?
Well, I mean, this is the thing now. Like you have guys that you think this is going to be my guy, and there's a sample size and you look back at history, all that kind of stuff. But when you get into a situation like this where you need to get some wins, you got to go with the hot hand. And it didn't stop the Florida Panthers last year from playing Alex Lyon in really important games and getting them into the playoffs. Now it's a very different situation in Vancouver because they're obviously going to be in the playoffs. They would like to finish the season strong and win their division. And the Edmonton Oilers still have 2 games in hand. So you're going to have to take care of business and play against Arizona tonight. But I don't know. Like I kind of think you go with who gives you a better chance to win on any given night. And if players' feelings get hurt along the way, it's like the old saying in baseball, like if you don't like it, pitch better. Like it is a business, and these wins are very important regardless of where you're at in the standings. And Silovs has been really good. And I think it sends the wrong message if, you have players who play in the minors and come up and do well and you don't reward them. Like that, to me, that just sends the wrong message. There always needs to be this hope that if you do the grind and you come up the ranks and you take care of your end of business, that you will get rewarded for that. And I think that should be the case for Silovs because he's played really well.
And the truth of the matter is they, DeSmith's not under contract. Like you want to be classy, but you don't owe it to him. You don't have to preserve the relationship going forward. I agree. Whoever gives you the chance to win that night in your gut, you go with that guy.
And I think the other thing, you take a look at like goaltender progressions. I think a lot of times you get in a situation with an organization where you have your number one and you have almost this stopgap guy in between the number one and any one of your prospects, goaltending prospects that are coming up. And that guy is not meant to be a permanent guy, a permanent fixture within your organization. He's meant to kind of buffer the transitional period for whoever's going to come up from the minors. And in the past, there's been goaltenders like DiPietro has been in Vancouver, and now it's Silovs. And it's like, those are the guys that are supposed to take the step. And at some point, that job should be there for them to take. It shouldn't be this, this hurdle that they can never overcome, because you never have anyone knocking on the door. Demko did it to Markstrom, and I'm not saying Silovs is going to do it to Demko, but like, he wants to make the jump to be a full-time NHL goaltender, be a backup on a permanent basis. Like, you have to give him that opportunity. And, a guy like Casey DeSmith is not meant to be there permanently as that backup. He's just meant to be a stopgap guy for the time being.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is Casey DeSmith did the job they asked him to do as backup goaltender, playing sporadically. When he got into a position where he had to carry the starter's load, he did fine off the start. Then when we got to game 7 of 8 or 8 of 9, that's when the cracks in the armor started showing. And if at that point Silovs can come in and be better, as he has been, that's almost the best of all worlds. So we'll see how they handle it down the stretch here. And what do you feel like Demko, if he gets 2 games in, is that good enough for you, Frank? And how would you feel about dropping him into the Oilers game on Saturday?
I would feel a month? I want to get him in the net. And I think goaltenders, it might be a little bit different than players. Like, I think with players, there's a certain cadence and timing that you need to kind of get yourself up to speed with. Like, the game moves on, whether you like it or not, and you need to find a way to get up to speed. And I think at this point, if a player is missing a couple games here and there, it's not the end of the world. That's more, in the guts of the regular season. But goaltenders, it's almost different, because they're almost isolated away from the team, doing their own goaltending, technical stuff all the time. So I feel like you really can simulate more of what a goaltender is going to go through in a game in a practice situation. It's almost like, in baseball, we hear a pitcher goes down and pitches a simulated game. Like, a player can't play a simulated game, but a goaltender, he can do a lot more things in his practice ice that can get him ready for the game. So I don't necessarily think he needs a long runway. The only thing is going to be not necessarily performance-based. It's going to be, how does the injury hold up? Like, are you reconditioned enough that you can withstand the rigors of a game? That would be the biggest question mark. And that would be the incentive to get him back into a couple games to see how do you react after game 1? How do you feel going into game 2? Because as you know, once the playoffs hit, you're playing every other night. And like, it would just be so detrimental to the Canucks' chances if Thatcher Demko comes back and something doesn't feel right and he's playing hurt or he has to leave again. Like, you don't have a ton of time, but you have to kind of gauge where he's at, so kind of what to expect come playoff time, health-wise, not necessarily performance-wise.
Unofficial third star in the building the other night were the Vibes. Tell me what role these play for the Vancouver Canucks now and in the playoffs, because they've been meh lately. They've been a 500 club for a little while here. And perhaps it's no coincidence that the day that they have a little gag inside the dressing room and JT Miller makes these cheeky 400th game commemorative T-shirts for his team, for his line mate Conor Garland, that they pull out a comeback, a multi-goal comeback, and finally beat a playoff team and get one over on the Golden Knights in the end. How big a role does stuff like that play in gelling a team right now?
First of all, I thought that was brilliant. Like, the whole T-shirt, like the way it was done was outstanding. And I gotta say, like, I was in Vancouver to watch a game earlier in the season, and I do a lot of games in the building in Toronto on radio. And now I've been in Montreal a bunch. I've been around the league quite a bit this year. I was in Dallas, I was in Tampa, I was at MSG, a couple other places I can't remember right now. But the vibes in the arena in Vancouver were awesome. Like, I really thought the crowd played up the game. Like, they were really attentive, they were loud, and I believe it was a 2-0 win versus Dallas. And I think that's one of those games where, it could be a little sleepy because it's maybe not high event, but I thought they were awesome. I thought the crowd was great. So there's that. The other thing within the group, something like that, like the T-shirts, I think that just goes a long way as far as like bringing the guys together and maybe adding a little levity to a time of the year where it's a bit of a slog getting to the end of the year, and it's nice to have something like that where the guys come to the arena and there's just something to laugh about, and it's a little more lighthearted. But I was thoroughly impressed when I came to Vancouver early in the year and watched that game and how the crowd reacted. It was a really cool environment.
I don't know that we could have predicted that within the room, though, because, there was questions when Bo Horvat's traded. There was questions about the relationship between Miller and Pettersson for a long while. And it seems now things have gotten to a place where even if they're not best friends inside the room, it certainly seems jovial enough. It seems gelled enough inside that room.
Well, you know why that is? Because when you're on a winning team, you park a lot of the garbage and you just know that your team has a chance to do something special. And I think that is going to always be at the forefront. If you're on a bad team, you're on a mediocre team, it's like all of a sudden those things seem to percolate and they seem to fester a little bit more, because it's like, I don't know, there's no bigger like task at hand, because you just know your team's not very good. You're probably not going anywhere. There's players that are frustrated because maybe they're having bad seasons, or they feel like someone has failed them in the room or on the ice, all that kind of stuff. But when the team is good, it's like, you can't spoil that. You can't spoil that on ego and I don't like this and I don't like that, because you really don't know how many opportunities you're going to get in the NHL to be on a winning team and try and make something of it. Like I played 4 playoff games as a 20-year-old, and everyone tells you, like, stay in the moment, yes, but you don't know if you're going to get that opportunity again. And it's so true. And I think when guys realize that, it brings the group together in a way that playing on a team that maybe isn't as good doesn't. And that's certainly been the case for the Canucks, because there's been a lot of good stories individually, but the way the group has come together and gotten through some stretches of the season where they maybe didn't play their best hockey, won some games they weren't supposed to, stuck up for each other in a number of different games. It's all been, part of the recipe that gets them to where they are now, and that's first in the Pacific. And I hope the vibes are good enough that they can win the division, because I keep going on SportsCenter and talking about how the Pacific Division belongs to the Vancouver Canucks and this and that. And then they drop 2, and all of a sudden Edmonton's nipping at their heels. And I'm like, I just can't do some guy grabbing the little clip from Jay Onright's show and saying what a bozo this guy is. So I'm really happy the vibes are good right now, because they're getting some wins, and that's good for Team Frankie over here.
Yeah, well, and the Pacific Division, as you note, I think is going to be quite interesting to watch. We're 10 years into this playoff format. I saw LeBron's article on The Athletic today. I know there's been a lot of griping in your hometown because the Leafs continue to draw really good opponents in that 2-3 matchup. But at large, do you think this mostly divisional playoff format has achieved what it was intending to achieve, and that is to sort of poke and fuel rivalries and interdivision rivalries?
I think at this point, it maybe did at the beginning, but at this point, things have gone stale. Like, who wants to watch Edmonton versus LA again? I don't. I'm bored of it. I don't want to watch Toronto versus Boston. I don't want to watch Toronto versus Tampa Bay. Like, go down the list of teams that seemingly meet in the playoffs every single year, and I almost dread it because I've watched it and I'm tired of it. I would actually rather see, like, I'm calling Habs games, okay, here for TSN, and I realized earlier on in the season Montreal and Ottawa only play each other 3 times this year, and I'm like, that makes no sense. Why are they not playing at least 4, maybe 5 times? So do more of the divisional games in the regular season. Like, maybe the Pacific teams don't need to play the Central teams as much and get another game within your own division. But I think if you leave it open to, you can play anyone within your conference, now we're organically building some rivalries that can come playoff time, maybe rejuvenate or spark something new. I feel like it's really gone stale as far as knowing that you're going to have to play the same team every year.
I'm coming around with you on that, buddy. Good hit. Thank you for this. We'll catch up next week. And that point, who knows, Frank? We may know who they're matching up against in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Yep.
We'll see. All right, boys. See ya.
Hey, everybody, if you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.
Bro.
Bro. You
ready to do these playoffs, bro?
I don't remember how to do the playoffs, so we're going to do it together.
And we'll kick it off Saturday, April 20th. Doors at 1. Show starts at 2 o'clock. Bro, do your playoffs, a special media event celebrating the life and legacy of our friend Jason Botchford. We'll raise some money for the BC Mental Health Foundation. Our friends from the matinee will play. And some media panels talking about our city's return to the hockey playoffs for the first time in 9 years.
Friends from both sides of the aisle, some live music, and we'll get you set for the playoffs.
Sekeres Price from Wall Center, presentation Applewood Auto Group. You can text us 778-402-9680. Time now for the Golf Report. First Golf Report of 2024, brought to you by the Whistler Golf Club. And Blake, we head to the 90th edition of the Masters Tournament, arguably the biggest golf tournament in the world, where PGA versus LIV remains a thing. PGA flag bearer Rory McIlroy looking to complete the career Grand Slam, as he has for more than a decade here at Augusta National. New flag bearer for LIV Golf in the defending champion Jon Rahm, who has not won on LIV and sounds a tinge regretful. I mean, he's talked about wanting to play 72 holes. He talked this week about how he hoped his defection to LIV would serve as a catalyst to bring the competing leagues together. Has not happened yet. And of course, Scottie Scheffler looking to cement himself as the best player in the world with margin, even with poor putting. I mean, some days he looks like you out there with the flat stick, and yet he is so good tee to green that he is able to compete and in some cases win by not being a great putter. There's bad boy Brooks looking for his 6th major to lead all active players in the non-Tiger Mickelson division.
That's the problem with these majors, though, is that they remind us what the tour can be.
That's what exactly the storyline that is starting to emerge here. Yes.
Like, we could have this way more regularly if not for this division. And we talked about this warning about the open wheel racing, the plight of open wheel racing in North America, and how the two sides killed racing in North America. And the players are starting to realize it now as well.
Then there's Tiger Woods, the 5-time champion, where the question is no longer can he compete and more can he complete after pulling out of Riviera in Los Angeles and last year's Masters tournament. Tiger still thinks he can get one. He talked this week, though, about how his body aches at all times and that he's in much better physical condition when it's hot and humid outside as opposed to when it's cold. It was cold last year.
And it's a roly-poly Augusta, and he says the uneven lies are really tough on his ankles, and that, flat courses are where it's at for him, ideally. But, of course, he's not going to say no to the Masters. 4 Canadians at the Masters. The 3 everyday, 3 of the everyday guys, and Taylor Hadwin and Connors, and, of course, Mike Weir's back as a former winner as well. Who of Taylor, Hadwin, and Connors do you think has the game?
Well, I was going to get to this from PGA data specialist Ron Kloss. There have been 12 of the last 12 Masters winners had gained at least 18 strokes tee to green in the 4 events before their Masters win. There are 9 players in the field for whom that applies. This has gone 12 for 12.
Okay.
9 players. Scottie Scheffler, Hideki Matsuyama,
of
course, past champion. Xander Schauffele on the short list of best players in the world without a major. Shane Lowry, Siwoo Kim, Rory McIlroy, Cameron Young, the young Swede Ludvig Åberg, who's quite a talent, and Corey Connors, Blake.
Wow.
Corey Corey's played well at the Masters in the past.
Yes, he has.
If I had to pick someone from the Canadian four, I think I would pick Connors, although Taylor seems to have the nerviest game. If he gets close in the fourth round, I would feel better about Taylor being able to close out.
Well, Taylor's won on big stages. He's won at Pebble. He's won at Arizona. He's won the Canadian Open. I mean, those are three big stages for him. So I like that too, but very interesting. Putting needs to be there for Taylor. We'll see.
And then lastly, and we've been talking about this for a couple of years now. When was the last thrilling men's golf major with an extraordinary finish or a playoff you couldn't take your eyes on, or somebody collapsing late with drama? Golf Digest did this week a ranking of the 50 defining moments at the Masters. I looked back for the moments in the last 10 years. There were 6 of them. 3 of them surrounded Tiger's 2019 victory. It was the win itself. His near ace on 16, if you may remember, he almost had yet another highlight on that hole. And I had totally forgotten this one. Do you remember a security guard slipping and crashing into Tiger while doing crowd control?
It rings a bell.
The other 3 moments in the last 10 years, defining moments, Hideki Matsua's caddy on the 72nd green looking back at the course and bowing.
Yeah.
Dustin Johnson in tears in his post-round interview after winning the November Masters in the pandemic shortened year. And then Jordan Spieth dunking 2 in the water on number 12 and his famous line to his caddy, Michael Greller, "Are we choking here?" I think that says it all about the last 10 years at Augusta, where, there was the Tiger victory that nobody saw in 2019. Other than that, it's kind of been a bunch of guys going out there and losing the Masters and survivors, and not necessarily. Only one time in the last 5 years have we seen a one-shot victory here. We've seen a lot of runaways.
The problem with the Masters is it's a small field.
Smaller field.
When you don't get 150 guys out there, there's less candidates to win the damn thing. And we often see multi-shot victories. So that is one of the problems.
What's the dream finish for you? Rahm and Scheffler coming down the stretch, same group?
That'd be pretty good.
Or Rory completing the career Grand Slam?
Yeah, I think Rory needs to be in the mix here. I mean, he's running out of time at the top of his game, if he hasn't already. So, any combination of those 3, and obviously if a Canadian can stick around.
Hey, Whistler Golf Club, the Bears are back. You can follow their springtime preparations at Whistler Golf on social. No booking restrictions. You can book for any time in the 2024 season, but those groups of 12 or more, the club reminding you, the organizer, time to lock in your tee times. The prime times are filling up fast, and just for reaching out to hold that tee time, you, the group organizer, plays for free. Whistler Golf Club takes care of the rest. Tell us about your group, whistlergolf.com/groups. Great Clips is the official hair salon of the National Hockey League. There are 37 salons in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, all Canadian owned and operated. Download the app and find the nearest to you. When you're up next for a cut, you'll get a ready next text. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Hey, you. No, not you. You. Are you an owner operator? Do you have a fleet of trucks or cars? Well, CalPro Plus might be the dedicated tire program just for you.
Free program includes exclusive deals and savings, price match guarantee, flexible financing, and preferred pricing on everything you drive.
Also, you get a dedicated member support line. That means that you can get questions answered. Also, they'll source and recommend the right tire for you, your application, and your budget.
Cal Tire's network of 260 plus stores are here to help so you can focus on the road ahead. Sign up for free at calproplus.com. Joined now by the national sports editor of the Daily Hive and its Offside Sports vertical. You know him as Rob the Hockey Guy on Twitter. Rob Williams back here with Sekeres Price. I understand you were in Vegas last week for the Canucks game.
Oh yeah, great game. Yeah, went down to Vegas with some friends. So I was sitting with the people in Vegas. Second time I've caught a game down there. The first time I saw a game was the Canucks' very first game in Vegas, which was during the 2017-18 season, when of course they were just dreadful, and Vegas was a juggernaut, and they lost 6-3, and thought, okay, for the last few months going, okay, this is going to be a pretty good game. This might be for first place in the division, we thought at one time. And we get down there and the Canucks lose 6-3 once again.
I think I was there for that first night, and
we were there as well.
Gilman and I were eating steak by the third period, I think, somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. You and Gilman bailed on the game.
Yeah.
And went to eat steak, and we toughed it out because real fans never leave. Rob always.
That's right. That's right. What's interesting about Vegas? So, like, being in that crowd, like, you'd think, I don't know, like in a lot of cities, you have like this really good team, defending Stanley Cup champs. You get a huge influx of visiting fans that are in the building. You think there'd be lots of chirps going on left, right, and center. I got the sense that nobody really cared. They're so used to having visiting fans there.
Yes.
This is still new to them. There's, and in some ways, like, Canucks fans, at least the ones I saw, like, were not very obnoxious. Like, maybe they would have been if the game turned out differently, but it just seemed like everybody sort of got along, and it wasn't like adversarial, like in the slightest, like quite different than I've seen like in
you're just a blue man group. You're a blue man group. It's just another show.
I was just gonna say, like, the vibe is very much dueling pianos. Like, let's sit there arm in arm and sing a song, about a piano man.
Yeah.
So no, you're right. The vibes are great. I hope you didn't look up into the rafters there though, because they've got something that we don't have, and it's blinding to some of us.
Yes.
Blinding with anger and rage.
I did like that though. Like, I caught like the little parade they do with, like, they have like the Vegas showgirls and the drummers and everything that like go marching down the street all the way into the to the rink. And I kind of get a chuckle because I know, like, the Canucks kind of tried to copy the like drummer thing, and like when the Canucks do it, they have like there's like I don't know how many people they have, like 6 or 7 guys drumming, and it's just kind of like it's fine, and like but like the thing they're copying is like Vegas, where they got like I don't know how many drummers they have. It was like 20 or 30 drummers with like lights and all sorts of stuff. It's just like the Canucks copy that's just not close.
Seventh man.
Yeah, almost like
exactly.
Racing the seventh man. Okay, let's get into it. Black skate. Do you want to see it? 12-4 the Canucks are in these jerseys. Do you want to see them in the playoffs?
Why not? I mean, especially if the players like wearing them, and they seem to, and especially if you get it into your head in some way that these are our lucky jerseys. When we wear these, good things happen. Although, they've lost 3 of their last 4 in the black skate, so I don't know if the shine's off it now.
Boy, we're pouring some water on it there. Another Rob Williams cornerstone, outdoor viewing parties, and you did the work on this. Any update on that?
Yeah, I asked the Canucks. They're not ready to, like, they didn't say they're not doing them, but they're not ready to release, or maybe they don't have all the details finalized, which is fine. So they're not ready to
fully comment,
reveal what they really give much of a comment on the situation. City of Vancouver spokesperson did give me something though. I'll give you guys just the quote from the City of Vancouver. The city is thrilled that the Canucks are in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We are in early conversations with the Canucks and other partners regarding supporting plans. Now, my question was in regards specifically to outdoor viewing parties. So I don't know if, that statement leaves a little bit of room for, are they doing supporting plans on something else? Is it specifically regarding outdoor viewing parties? I'm sure a lot of people have seen the photos, or perhaps have seen it for themselves outside Rogers Arena. They've put up these brand new images of players under the viaduct there and on the side of Rogers Arena. That space in the plaza is not big enough for like a proper viewing party. The ones that we've seen elsewhere. But that that is an indication that they're getting ready for playoff time and figuring out what they're going to do. 2 years ago, I asked when we saw this explosion of outdoor viewing parties for playoffs in round one, like seemingly every city had a really good one, particularly in Canadian cities. Maple Leaf Square has been doing it for a long time, but we saw the Red Lot and the Moss Pit in Calgary and Edmonton.
Mhm.
Those look epic. I mean, the visuals look phenomenal, and I do wonder, and I did ask the Canucks then, like, would this be something that you guys would do? They said at that time that they were looking into, like, they were beginning the process of looking into doing something like this during the 2019-20 season, will look like they might make the playoffs. So I do wonder if they're going to be doing something, and perhaps we'll find out quite soon.
Where would be the best place for an outdoor viewing party, Rob? Have you pinned that down? Because as you mentioned, the plaza is too kind of small. So where would you want to see it?
Yeah, the one that makes the most sense to me by far, I'd say, is Concord Pacific Place, just south of Rogers Arena, across the street. Basically where they have the Cirque du Soleil tents,
Right.
and they've held events in that exact space before. Imagine having that. You've got False Creek and the water right. That's your backdrop right there with the arena. In the shadow of the arena across the street. That to me seems perfect. I think it's enough space. And what you do is, I know, like, some people, as soon as you say outdoor viewing parties, they think of Game 7 in 2011 and the riots. I think the learning from that is not that we can't ever hold outdoor viewing parties. It's that you can't just have a free-for-all in the middle of Granville Street and invite whoever, wherever, have no security checkpoints. Like, that's definitely the wrong way to do this. But if you learn from what other cities have done, you have this as an event. You have it as a ticketed event. Maybe, I don't know, $10, $20 goes to Canuck Place, and you have security checkpoints, and you have a fenced off area, and you have some form of crowd control that way.
Like an outdoor concert, like an outdoor concert.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Like we've held events like this in the city, and especially if we have a riot in round one, that will be the most shameful riot of the fall. But I don't think there's a risk. I don't think you're amping up the risk of trouble too much if you hold an event like that and you have some sort of control over who gets in the gate, what they're bringing in their bags, like all of those things. I think it can be done safely, and I think it would be a huge marketing win for the Canucks. Like, if you have, we've seen these visuals, like when a team wins a big playoff game and they pan to the outdoor crowd, it's awesome, right? And and that way you also get a ton of people in that can't afford, what are playoff tickets going for right now? Like $400 or $500 plus. Like, it's not affordable to get a playoff ticket unless you have some sort of connection right now. So you allow a whole different group of people to come and experience the excitement of a playoff game. So I think it's a slam dunk to do.
Do it for home and road games.
Absolutely, yeah. Why not? The only thing that threatens it is rain in the city of Vancouver, but like other cities have had these and they get rained out, and that's fine. And you watch the game somewhere else that day.
And sometimes they don't. Sometimes there's rain. I saw Jurassic Park in the rain. It still happened, and there were some brave souls out there to watch the game. So
absolutely,
you never know.
Pettersson, he's shown signs here at the very least, Rob, and you guys wrote on Pettersson doing the dirty work, the gritty side of VP40. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I wrote a story yesterday just about Pettersson. I thought it was notable on Monday. I think everyone saw it. Like he's screening the goalie on 3 of the goals, providing the net front on the power play. I didn't know how to read into the question, how he answered one of the questions. I don't know if he almost seemed like, I don't know if he just didn't want to. I think my sense was that he just didn't really want to get into the premise of the question rather than being like salty about playing the net front, but he's really good at it. And I think that that's something that, we're seeing him do that. Of course, eventually he's got to score goals. He's got to be doing the dekes. He's got to be, getting his big shot on net. But in the meantime, it's great that he's able to help in other ways. So, willing to go to the front of the net to screen the goalie, to help, help his team score goals. He's also got a career high in hits this season. He's among the team's hit leaders. I think he's 5th in hits this season on the Canucks. He also is 1st in block shots among Canucks forwards. So like these are the things that, that are not the glamour. These are not the glamour stats, right? And going to the front of the net, like, sometimes like you can find goals there, but like, sometimes like Monday, he helps on 3 goals. He gets 1 assist, right? So it doesn't help you on the point totals necessarily in that regard. And of course, Pettersson's a fantastic 2-way player. Like he doesn't cheat the game in the defensive zone, or So I think that there's we can credit him with a lot of things, and I think that are away from the traditional offensive glamour stats that you put up.
This season might go down as if you're on the outside looking in, if you were a Jets fan looking in on Vancouver media, I don't know that every hockey fan would get why. And I don't think it's critical of Elias Pettersson, but I don't know that they would understand the analysis of Elias Pettersson with 87 points. Like he might be the most criticized 90-point player in the history of the NHL, but yeah, I don't know that it's unfounded. I do get a lot of the analysis that he gets.
It's a credit to him. I mean, the bar is so high. Like we've seen his best, and we know when it's not there, right? Like
right.
He's not. It's one of those things where you just know when it's there and when it's not. Like when he's moving, the way he's moving with the puck, the way he's handling the puck. When Pettersson is at playing at 100%, and I don't necessarily mean injury wise, but playing at 100% confidence, 100%, doing his dekes, right? Like we know when that's not there, we know when it's not there, and he hasn't been, optimal PD for the last couple months, and
he gets a couple points tonight. He's top 15 in the NHL.
At the same time, like it's incredible. Like you say, and it's unreal. So I think a lot of the things right now concerning the Canucks are just like everyone wants to see them hitting their stride at the right time, right? They had most of their success in the first half of the season, hasn't gone quite their way since the All-Star break, which is, a large sample size now. And I think people are, getting a little bit nervous. And I think that's why that winning against Vegas on Monday was so huge, because, they'd gone a month without beating a playoff team. Like people are starting to wonder, I think people are still wondering, like, are they pretenders? Like, are they Stanley Cup pretenders? How many teams in the Western Conference are hoping that they get Vancouver in round 1 versus, a lot of the other, a lot of very good teams, admittedly, in the Western Conference. I think you're going to see when the regular season ends and, and all the analysts are coming up with their first round predictions. I think you're going to see a lot of people picking the Canucks to lose in the first round.
I think you're right. Just walking around now, Bailey, yesterday, talking to some fans and friends. I think people are nervous about the Canucks. I think if you had talked to people at the All-Star game, this is a cup contender. We're winning
Give
rounds.
us respect.
Absolutely. We're absolutely going to win a round. Look, they have been a 500 hockey team since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So, on a significant sample, the last couple months have showed us that they're perhaps not ready for prime time. We'll see who they draw. We'll see what kind of roll or slump they're on heading into the playoffs with 4 games left. Great stuff, Rob. Thanks for this, buddy. We'll catch up next week.
Sounds good.
Hey, everybody, if you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.